Thanks for Odyssey, Bit Chute, Telegram, or Sport Channel, and Coffee, the various other links. Quick video, just because this made me laugh. This is PolitiFact, and PolitiFact is like Snopes. It's one of these fact-checking things, but the fact-checkers, for some reason, are all on the left, I guess because they're probably getting for Soros, Schwab's, or Rothschild's funding to spread some narrative. So the claim, tweet, Russia is targeting U.S. biological weapons labs in Ukraine invasion. Firmly false, okay? And by, let's see who this wacky character is. Jeff. That's interesting face you have there, Jeff. I'm sure you're perfectly fair, unbiased, and impartial, Jeff. Don't look fair and unbiased, impartial to me. I would love to know more about Jeff, but I don't think he will be forthcoming about his own personal bias, which is really, if you're fact-checking something, you should say your bias up front. You're like, this is where I'm from, these are my affiliations, this is how I vote, this is my bias in general, and I'm left of center on these issues, and I'm from this part of the world, etc., etc. It's like, it's funny how media doesn't do that anymore. It's maybe something we should get back to, admitting bias up front. So if your time is short, there are no U.S.-run biological weapons labs operating in Ukraine. U.S. Department of Defense have had a partnership to have some laboratories and study some vectors. That effort is part of a government program that began in 1991 to reduce the threat of existing weapons of MDAs. Informer, okay, so that's a summation, but it's an interesting summation in that you said you had a lab, but it's not the lab that is claimed. Weird. So Russia's invasion has brought false claims. Okay, well, you're leading with the conclusion. It's a bit weird. On social media that Putin is targeting U.S.-run bio labs in Ukraine. False claims. Again, you repeated that without actually showing anything. Alleging bioweapon use. Okay, aren't new. Okay, we'll just get to the point of how you know what you claim to know. Allegations, state-run labs were shared. Okay, yes. Twitter user by the handle War Clandestine or spread a story about these biolabs. It's good to know that account was quickly suspended by Twitter. Others shared the post and they started talking about a U.S. #US biolabs, spread the false claim. Well, that's the third or fourth time you said false claim without showing it. There are new U.S. military-run labs in the Ukraine, says Andy Weber, a member of the Arms Control Association Board. Okay, so you have one person who says they're not. Allegedly, they're not. You have a claim that says one person says they are, and he doesn't say how he knows what he knows. Fair enough. You have to provide backup for that, but you can't even question that narrative because you got permanently suspended off of Twitter. Then you have another guy who's one person who's part of some board who says no, and then it goes to the Department of Defense has got some connections there and labs there, but they're not for bioweapons. But he doesn't say how he knows what he knows and what his official stance is. So you've made this claim, but you didn't really say how you knew what you know. You just keep saying it's false, which is weird because it's so these are where explosions or shelling have been reported, and then those are the U.S. bio labs in Ukraine. It's just weird that the Snopes and PolitiFact would come out with something that, I'm not saying it's true or false, it's just extremely difficult to know what is true or false because this is matters of national security. The truth be told, if you got one person saying something, this Andrew Weber guy, you'd have to look more closely into him. And he's one person making one claim for all these labs. It's like, is he authorized to make these claims, or is he just a shill who's quickly disavowing? It kind of reminds me of that the Wayfair cabinet thing, where some claim came out about Wayfair. Is it true or false? It doesn't matter. It's just, like most of these things are positions of you just don't know the truth or false. You'd have the needle have to be in the middle. It's like someone made a claim, but they didn't prove the claim, and somebody didn't provide evidence sufficient to disprove it. So really, most of these things are going to be like, oh, we just don't know. But you can't make a website pay if you're saying like, well, 90% of the things are not proved to any matter of certainty. the other side of it is these people are very firmly left wing. So they have a clear left wing bias. Anything's anti-Trump, it's like, oh well, it's uncertain if he had a prostitute pee on him. It's like, yeah, but the evidence of his own personal experience is the guy was kind of a germphobe, but it wasn't to a point of being like OCD or something. But he wasn't into he was a very clean person. He wasn't into shaking hands and doing all this kind of stuff, and he doesn't even drink. So putting himself in compromising positions, it just seems so unlikely. But when that comes up for a fact check, they go, oh, it's unproven. It's like, so suddenly you're concerned about due process. I mean, you can, it's like that Defiant L's on Twitter. It's like you could do the same for Snopes and Polyfact. You go through their claims that are just obvious shows their bias, clear shows their bias. Anyway, with the Wayfair thing, it came out, so it was a ridiculous claim. That's not to say it's untrue, because there are true ridiculous claims also. I should say it was outlandish claim. But it's something that should be looked into, because it's a very serious allegation of harm to children, right? But what happened was the media came out within hours and said it was clearly false. You're like, you didn't have time to do an investigation. Now, listen, I'm not conspiracy nut. It probably was false. Because I kind of refuse to believe that there's that many people who are into kids. I'd like to, I don't know if I want to live in a world where there's that many people who are into abusing kids, because I think I won't say it. So it would behoove people to investigate, and hopefully the investigators are not also into kids. But the media came out immediately and disavowed it. And like, even people who are not into conspiracy theories looked at it and go, wait a minute, why did you disavow it like within 2 hours? You did an investigation in 2 hours? How does that work? I don't think you did an investigation in 2 hours. Let's get down there. So you can overlay the maps, and obviously there's some similarities in the overlay. So that was kind of weird. And nobody thought to look at the media. I mean, some people did. It's like people were talking about this on YouTube. It's like they weren't kicking channels off for that, but they started shadow banning channels. And then after that, what YouTube started to do was say anything. They went down this path with anything that was along the lines of conspiracy theories, even fun, harmless stuff. Sorry, flat earthers or cryptozoologist people. Even fun, harmless stuff. They started kicking those people off. The people talk about the moon and stuff like that, and even other things. I don't want to get too specific. For some reason, I think because they wanted kind of the moral energy behind themselves to say, like, yeah, we don't have any of this kind of stuff on YouTube. It's just an official narrative. That's why YouTube is kind of weird now. It's not the place it used to be, where there was a lot of this kind of nonsense. It is a lot of fun, the flat, Earth type of stuff. That's fun, and cryptozoology, Bigfoot type of silliness. It's just fun. It's just fun stuff. Most people realize that. Even the Flat Earth Society realizes it's mostly a joke. But they kept all that stuff off, and it's like there's an official narrative. And if you talk anything about the gift from China, you'll get either 2 weeks off, or your channel will just be instantly deleted. So this Ukraine stuff isn't that serious yet. They're not. They don't have an official narrative for YouTube puppet masters yet, but in a few days they will. And wherever they settle out will be like, this will be an official narrative. And suddenly, to show a picture like this, well, if it's not coming from CNN, well, it'll get your channel kicked off. It's like, that's weird. Yeah, what can I say? YouTube is not the place it used to be. Odyssey and Bit Chute are still going off. Telegram is fantastic. Gab is good. And then there's a bunch of other smaller video hosting platforms. But really, Gab, Telegram, and Odyssey for me are kind of where I'm trying to focus a lot of energy. And I know you got to have a phone number for Telegram and Odyssey. But the thing is, you can get a burner phone line online or through the App Store. You can use a Google Voice. It's a free app to give you a Google number. Or ultimately, if you want to buy a physical burner and with some minutes on a SIM card, you can go that route too. And it's like you can probably get the whole thing for $40, and that way you have a physical phone with like an hour talk time or something. And you never know. It might come in handy. Have a phone in a Faraday cage. You can make those yourself too. Anyway, like, comment, subscribe. I'll see you guys on the next episode.